bottom of the hour to Mark because he's going to be leaving, and you and I can carry this. So we're
Okay.
up in 5. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It is a joy to be with you today. There's so much that is going on in the news cycle. One always wonders, certainly I do, what are we going to cover? And independent media gives us the opportunity to cover stories that are really very, very important that corporations don't want you to see. So please support your independent media. Please support your independent media. Indeed, that's where the trends are going. The biggest network in the United States right now is YouTube. That's right. So everybody, please like and share. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. You help us with the algorithm, because certainly people who present this perspective, well, we kind of get jammed up in the algorithm, right? But that's okay. You got to keep on pushing, and you keep on talking. You keep on doing what it is that you need to do. But this story is very important. There is a man named Erik Prince. Who is Erik Prince? Remember Blackwater, the paid military contractors? Well, some months ago, in 2024, he said that he wants to, well, certainly we need to look at recolonizing Africa. He said that's what the United States needs to do. He was on a podcast called Off the Leash. And he said that if so many of these countries around the world are incapable of governing themselves, it's time for us to put the imperial hat back on, to say we're going to govern these countries because enough is enough. We're done being invaded. You can say that about pretty much all of Africa. They're incapable of governing themselves. And the host, Paul Serrano, said, well, people on the left are going to watch this and they're going to say, wait a minute, Erik Prince is talking about being a colonialist again. And he responded, absolutely yes. But there's more. Now the Haitian government is reportedly hiring him to, well, the headline from Common Dreams is to help kill gang members. Who's the gang member? Who's the gangster there in Haiti? Haiti, more often than not, is a vassal state of the United States because your democratically elected leaders, Attorney Anastasi Senat, we push them out. Yeah, we push them out because they protect the people. And so we don't want them there. So I want to hear what your thoughts are. What about this? What could possibly go wrong? Well, that is a question that some New York Times readers asked rather sarcastically, according to this Common Dreams report. And a whole lot could go wrong. So let's talk about this here on the Santita Jackson Show. I want you to go to Blue Sky, santitajackson.bsky.social, santitajackson.bsky.social, and I'm on X at SantitaJ. I'm also on Facebook, the Santita Jackson and Friends page. That's the only place where I can accept friendships, everybody. And then, of course, meet Bernadette, who's telling everyone to like and share. She always gets there first, just about. Like and share, like and share, like and share on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. So let's get to it. Of course, we've got the former president of the Haitian American Lawyers Association, brilliant lawyer, who really has had a real focus on immigration, but she's really looking at human rights. And so we're so honored to always have my soror and sister beloved, Attorney Anastasia Senat with us. So I'm going to start with you, Attorney Mark Fancher, brilliant internationalist and an Africanist, if I must say, and someone who really understands the geopolitics. What do you make of Erik Prince being hired by the Haitian government, reportedly, to, get the gangs together? It's like, who are the gangs? What government would hire someone who says that we need to recolonize the black and brown world? Mark Fancher, Attorney Mark Fancher.
Well, it's my continuing hope and objective, really, to get oppressed humanity generally and African people throughout the world in particular to a point where we collectively understand that when it comes to capitalism, when it comes to imperialism, nothing changes. Nothing. The fact that Erik Prince makes such a statement is different only with respect to style. The agenda and the objectives of capitalists on the international scale and imperialists is always the same, and that is to dominate the planet. And the United States has always been up to its eyeballs in terms of colonizing the world, imposing itself on the world, exploiting the world, extracting its natural resources, dominating its people, and wreaking havoc everywhere it goes. And there have been strategic decisions made from time to time about how you go about engaging in that type of mass ongoing destruction. The United States made a decision a long time ago that it would never be upfront and transparent about the role that it plays in the maintenance and the expansion of an empire, a Western empire, that it would always hold itself out as being the standard bearer for democracy and for human rights and all of those good things, while at the same time it was under cover of darkness, engaging in some of the worst violence and exploitation and oppression that any country anywhere was engaged in. The way that the United States has always done that is by way of either following in the shadow of governments that are upfront about their imperial aims, or by working through proxy forces, getting others to do their dirty work for them. And that kind of an approach is aided by creating confusion about who is who and what they're up to and what they're trying to accomplish. They have long been involved in destabilizing Haiti. It has been an ongoing process of making that a country which has been almost impossible for anybody with good objectives to try and control and to govern. Anytime anybody, whether it's Jean Bertrand Aristide or anybody else, has been able to create promising situations for Haiti, then they've been eliminated, they've been moved out of the way, and they've been replaced by people who are brutal dictators or other people who may approach their jobs with a smile, but who are at the same time engaged in confusion and destabilization. I think that the good news is that African people throughout the world, I think, are beginning to understand this a lot more clearly. We're seeing this now in the Sahel in Africa, where you have Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, who formed the Alliance of Sahel States, and Ibrahim Traore, who is the leader of Burkina Faso, has emerged as a Pan African hero. He's very clear in his analysis about the way that international capitalism works and the way that imperialism works and the bad news that it promises for Africa. He has been forthright in confronting the imperialists, and the Alliance of Sahel States has collectively backed them down and pushed them back. And the African world has responded. Thousands and thousands of people have spilled out into the streets everywhere, demanding that the U.S. keep their hands off of Traore, notwithstanding threats that were veiled and not so veiled that have been made against him by Western imperialism, and notwithstanding those massive shows of support. None of it has been seen in the mainstream media because Gil Scott Heron was correct. The revolution will not be televised. And so you have these unlikely people who are stepping forward and who are able to mobilize and educate people on a mass scale about what imperialism is up to. We see some of that happening in Haiti right now. Part of the strategy that's used is to brand people a certain way, to make the world think that these are people who are in some way monsters or people who are dangerous or people who are a threat. They tried to do that with Traoré and said that he was someone who was working against the interests of the people of Burkina Faso, and people understood the lie. So that when we get to Haiti and you've got someone like Jimmy Cherizier and others who are leading organizations and groups that are engaged in conflict, then they've been branded as gangs.
Mhm.
Uh, whether they are or whether they're not, it becomes important for those of us who are observing this and monitoring it to be aware of the context in which they emerge. When these people claim that they're not trying to hurt the people of Haiti, that they are resisting imperialism, that they are revolutionaries, then we need to listen to that. We either can choose to believe it or not believe it, but we should definitely not believe what Western governments and what Western imperialism says about them. If Western imperialism says that they're gangs and that they're destabilizing Haiti and that they're causing problems and wreaking havoc, then I know that imperialism and capitalism don't lie some of the time. It's like Kwame Ture said, they lie all of the time. And when they tell the truth, it's because they told a double lie. And so we have to immediately suspect that. And so I think that that's one of the things that we have to be concerned about. If Erik Prince is saying that he wants to go in and to get things under control, why should we believe a mercenary? Why should we believe or put trust in someone like that whose objective is to recolonize Africa? And so I think in many ways, we can take our cue about what to believe and whose side to line up on based on what the enemy says. And he's definitely the enemy. And I think that in some ways, as I've said before, when people like him emerge, when people like Trump emerge, it's in some ways a blessing in disguise because imperialism has relied so much on deception. It has relied so much on gaslighting that when you have individuals who emerge who tell the straight truth about what they're trying to do, who are totally transparent about what their objectives are, then we have to say that in some ways that's helpful to us. That's a breath of fresh air. It eliminates a lot of confusion that might otherwise exist. If Donald Trump was a different type of a person who was a smooth and slick politician who said all the right things, it doesn't mean that he would not be engaged in exactly what he's been doing up to now. It's just that we wouldn't be as aware of it. We would not be as on guard about it. We would not be as primed and ready to resist.
Well,
And so,
indeed, I have to, if I may say this here, I was I saw a woman on TikTok, and I said she's got this right. I do believe she said that President Trump has ripped off the Band-Aid. I keep saying that he's saying the quiet part out loud. We are seeing no difference in our foreign policy, particularly with respect to Ukraine and Gaza. None. Um, Democrat, Republican. No change in policy. No change in Haitian policy. No change in what's happening in Venezuela. We're still trying to get rid of that government. Instead of, we're blaming these people. We've made life unsustainable and unlivable in Venezuela because of our meddling. This is what we're doing. And now you've got Erik Prince, and that's why I wanted to give it the proper frame because I didn't want people to forget Attorney Fancher and Attorney Senat, just who he is. Blackwater, of course, was a famous, and some people say infamous, military contracting company. Well, they're defunct now because they became so hot they were radioactive, right? So now he's got several other military entities who have already been deployed to Haiti, Mark. They're already there. And so, I mean, and the government has brought them there. The government. If you don't mind, if you could pause for a hot second, I know you can't stay much longer, but I wanted Attorney Sanat to respond to what she has heard from you, and then we'll bring you back just near the bottom of the hour so that we can hear what you have to say before you go, Attorney Fancher. Attorney Sanat.
Well, good morning or good afternoon, I should say, to
Mm-hmm.
everyone. Thank you so much, Santita, for having me. And I think
Oh,
Attorney Fancher brought up some very good points. Um, the community here in Chicago has been advocating for reform, for restabilization, and to rebuild Haiti. The HR 1114 bill is currently with the Foreign Affairs Committee as well as the Ways and Means Committee. They reduced our request from a $50 billion investment plan where we would be able to do these things. The problem is the way they want to restabilize Haiti. Attorney Fancher clearly pointed out the reason why Haiti has been destabilized is because the United States destabilized it, right? Other foreign countries assisted, specifically Colombia when they killed the president. But I want to push back a little bit on the theory that we're unable to govern ourselves because Haiti is still operating. It's really Port-au-Prince, which is the capital of Haiti, that is having the trouble. People are still flying into Cap Haitien and they're still flying or cruising into Labadie and having a great time in Haiti. Haiti is still operational, even though they don't have a president, a government, or a judiciary at this time, right? The legislators would definitely run. The mayors would definitely run. All of these things would happen if people would stop meddling. But one of
But,
the things that the
but
United
hold that
States,
thought, because I think it's important for us, because I think we're making the point, because this is what Erik Prince said, that you don't know how to govern yourselves. And we hear imperialists say that all the time.
oh, of
Haiti
course.
didn't collapse. Haiti has been collapsed.
Yeah, they had been stabilized, but
No,
they're
no,
running.
no, they're running, but they're not running the way that they could because you have everybody over there trying to steal all the resources. I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, these people they're functioning. Let's put it right here. Their backs are against the wall.
Hmm.
They are functioning against great odds.
Hmm.
We're not questioning our abilities, our capabilities.
Hmm.
What we're trying to get to the heart of is the mischief. Attorney Sinat, stay right there before Mark Fancher, who has to leave very shortly. I wanted to hear what you have to say, Attorney Fancher.
Yeah, I agree with what you just said, and also understand that what Erik Prince is doing and what he promises to do is something that has been done by others before him, mainly the CIA.
Mm.
They have always done the kinds of things that he's threatening to do or that he's about to do, and they've done it much more quietly. They've done it much more subtly in ways that sometimes nobody even knew that they were going in, that they were assassinating people, that they were destabilizing economies, that they were creating all kinds of disruption and confusion and problems, and smiling the whole time. Nobody ever
Mhm.
knew that they were doing it. So Erik Prince, if he's doing this above board and we can see it, we're better off. And while people are alarmed to see it, we're better off. The other thing I want to say is that very often there is the use of what many call neo-colonialism, where they will have, in like as in Haiti, where they say, well, the government invited him in. Uh, well, who in the government? Because the empire always functions through puppets. It always establishes people in government as either head of state or someone highly placed to function as the person who is going to clear the way and make it possible for the empire to come in and to do whatever it wants to do in a country. So we can't ever be distracted or deceived when they say, oh, well, we were invited. Invited by who and under what circumstances? These are not always people who are acting in the best interest of the masses of people.
Yeah, I
Well,
agree with that. In fact, the Kenyan
mhm.
police, they've been there since 2024,
How
would
has
have
that worked
really
out?
been able, right, they haven't been able to accomplish anything. I think these reports of Erik Prince going into Haiti are just reports because he tried to quote unquote go into Ecuador and look, nothing happened. They didn't hire him.
No,
The
but the report.
transitional government or transitional presidential council, I'm sure they're not the ones that are saying that they got to come in.
No, no,
They,
no, no, no. Well, hold on, because the reports are saying that he's already there. See, he disbanded Blackwater because Blackwater,
all those
these
lawsuits.
the I mean,
He
and
was
they became
killing civilians.
which is what they always do. But the fact is, everybody knew it, so
Hmm.
it became they could no longer function as that same entity So what he did was go back and reformulate. So he's got a lot of other entities that are not named Blackwater, but they are Blackwater. He runs them. They are
Right.
already there. I guess the issue it has got now, the government reportedly, the central government are now saying, okay, we want him to come in to quell the violence. And what is, I think, given who he is, given his statements, and particularly now, he's so aggressively imperialist, that I just thought it was very interesting because, and that's why it's important for us to have this discussion because I want to know what about the wealth of Haiti? Because
Hmm.
this portion of this island, really the whole island, but let's look at Haiti because these black people had the nerve, the sheer unmitigated gall to
Hmm.
be free. I mean,
Right.
and when you do that, you see I mean, I've been to
They've been
I,
paying for it since 1791.
absolutely, and of course, there is a racist element to it, but you see this with Northern Ireland, right? Whenever people decide to go up against the big imperial power and demand their freedom, that becomes problematic. And so, my question for you is having said all that, knowing that, my question is okay, so now who there? You said there is no president now.
No,
Okay. How
there
did
are no judges.
I
There
think
is
we
no
need to
legislator.
remind people how that happened.
Yeah, I mean, they came in, they shot up, they assassinated the president, Jovenel Moise, in July of 2021, and they have not allowed for elections to take place. They have not allowed for the government to, quote unquote, come back into power. They obviously had the means because he was able to get elected. They had the means when um, Michel Martelly got elected. So it's not as if Haiti doesn't have the means. They just need to allow it to occur, and they're not allowing it to occur.
You
Kenya.
know what? I think it's curious. Allow. I think we should not allow anything. They should be able, right? They
Mhm.
should be able to be free.
Well, Haitians
What
are generally a peaceful people. So to
but
advertise,
their behavior is not what's at issue here. I think what's underneath their feet is what
right,
are
I
the
think
rich
the
what are the
gangs are
rich
the ones that are taking over the capital city because
yeah
the
but
capital city has the port.
yeah, okay, but what about the natural resources in Haiti? Because we don't fight this hard over any place that is poor. The people
Of course.
have been made poor, but the soil is rich. It is a resource rich country. Um, like we've made Cuba pay. Cuba would dare to be free, and they would dare to
Mhm.
educate people. What my grandmother used to was a seasonal worker in Cuba in her youth. She was in
Mhm.
poverty, and people in South Florida at that time, it was basically an unincorporated state, Anastasi, and you hopped on the boat and you did daily, weekly, or seasonal work. And my grandmother did that. She could describe the first time I went to Havana, she told me how to get around Havana because it was still fresh in her mind from her youth. And she said to me, you know what? Because she was a dark skinned woman, and that's very key. Looked like she was West African. When my African friends would meet her, they would get so excited. They were like, "Oh, she's Nigerian," and with the gap and everything, right? My
Mhm.
mother's mother, and she said, people say what they will about Castro, but before him, we were little more than slaves. And my grandmother never talked about her youth, Anastasi. She never talked about it because it was so painful. She was orphaned when she was 11, had her first child at 14. She was out here by herself. She finally married at 18, established some security and stability, and she never looked back. But and she couldn't look back because there was too much pain there. You know what I mean?
Yes, of course.
And so, I mean, that part of the world, I get it. I get it. And that's why I'm saying, I'm tired of us feeling that we need to prove that we can take care of ourselves and we can govern ourselves. No, that's our capabilities and our abilities are not an issue here.
No.
The meddling of, an object at rest will what? Remain at rest unless acted upon by what? An outside force. It is a law of physics. It's a law of nature. What are the forces that are acting upon Haiti, Anastasia?
Well, I think the United States government is the force that's really done the worst. Under the Biden administration, they had temporary protected status, and 350,000 plus Haitians came to the United States based on this ability to protect. And then it was removed from them. Some of them were able to get into situations which would allow them to change their status from that of temporary protected status to that of, for example, an asylee or someone who is married to a citizen, and then they can get their green card that way. Very few companies. And I think that's the main thing that I believe when you were talking about Donald Trump ripped off the band-aid in the sense that he was telling secrets aloud. He's
Mhm.
saying corporations, look, there's all these ways that we can get people here legally. The corporations are just going to have to pay for it. If you really want their services, you want their labor, you just got to pay for it. Stop hiring people under the table. If you stop doing that, not only will we be able to have more people with permanency here, but we'll have more of a stable economy.
Mhm.
But the corporations, specifically the farmers, because a lot of people don't think of farmers as corporations, but they are. Nebraska was complaining that all of these workers were not going to show up because of the threat of ICE. Well, why were you hiring them under the table? You knew that you couldn't find anyone in Nebraska to do it, and you knew there was other people in the United States that were unable to do it. But you have all these individuals who are willing to do it. Why not just apply for a visa to let them stay and not be threatened with removal? Let them go on a pathway to citizenship. The meddling starts primarily with corporations.
Mhm.
Then it goes up to the United States president, who has the ability to continue to protect. But at the same time, if we don't have what we call the Marshall Plan, where they used it in the end of World War II to rebuild Europe, right? And really, China did that, but we're not going to go into that. Rebuild Europe, then what are we going to do? And I think one of the things that this HR 1114 bill will give Haiti an opportunity to do, and other contractors an opportunity to do, is bring machinery there to bring knowledge, skills, and abilities, not only for the country to maintain its new infrastructure, but also by doing that, you're going to lift up the economy. The people that want to be in politics will join the race to earn their spots, and then they can reform instead of trying to constantly meddle, right, as you said, with their reform of their own government by infusing mercenaries like Erik Prince or other police forces like the Kenyan police to
Mhm.
do the work. I think that they don't want a civil war there, and I don't think that a civil war is going to go, because what they've done is they've just displaced a number of people who lived in Port-au-Prince. There are schools that are being currently filled with displaced people instead of being used for education. So we need to really think and actually ask the American people to join our discussion. I think African Americans or the African diaspora needs to join the discussion of stop meddling in Haiti. Help, but don't meddle. Help, but don't steal the coffee. Don't steal the bananas or the rice or any of those things. There was one guy many years ago who was sent what he thought was glycerin in order to put in children's medication, and ended up being given a poison that he put in the medication without his knowledge, killing people. So there are deceiving people in so many different ways. Corporations are deceiving people in a lot of different ways. And I believe that Haiti can certainly rebuild itself, can restabilize itself, and could definitely reform in the government, less corruption if people will allow them to do it. And I think that's the problem. People are scared of being shot by the drones that have already killed 200 people. Now, of those 200 people, were they civilians or were they gang members? And
Well, I
why
mean,
are the
but
drones operating freely in their space?
but the thing is, who's the gang member? Who's the gangster? See,
It's Erik Prince.
no, yeah, but I'm just saying, yeah, because I
He's
want
the
to say,
gangster.
yeah, because I mean, the gang members, what is that? Oftentimes, the gang members are the freedom fighters. Dr. King was a communist, right? That's what they said.
Well,
He
yeah,
was,
they're
and
saying
he
barbecue
was,
is the gang member, but
yeah.
barbecue has engaged in some activities that were inappropriate, and he's handled it in some respects with the old adage, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth.
Yeah.
So some of these gang members who have gone too far with the kidnapping, the rape, the pillage of, or the robberies, I should say, of other people, you know, if it doesn't come back to him in a nice way, then he's going to take that person out. But that's the problem. How do you get what he has called himself to be, a revolutionary,
Yeah.
right? And then call him a gang member outside in the community?
Well, I mean, in the community, they probably might not feel that way. I mean, and that's my point. We're going to be talking about Larry Hoover in the next hour. Everybody, he was
Uh-uh.
uh, a gang member. He created
Mhm.
one of the strongest gangs in Chicago. Well, in
Right.
black gangs in the country, and they were based in Chicago. And he was put in jail, in prison for more than 200 years. And they said something very interesting in one of the articles that I read about his case, because he was finally, the federal charges were commuted. Now people are trying to figure out, they're trying to find a way for his state charges to be commuted because he's still in prison. So
Mhm.
that the president can absolve you or can commute your sentence for
Federally,
federal
yeah.
side. But
But JB Pritzker
okay,
would have to do the rest for the other Illinois
because
charges. And
that's
JB
right.
Pritzker's not going to do that.
But what was interesting was they said the fear was that he still has so much power and influence in the community.
Gangster Disciples is a international community of criminals. And I would not be surprised if upon his release he would come back into leadership.
Well, no, he's already in leadership, but I mean criminals, I kind of be careful with that because we are surrounded by criminals. I mean
But he says in
the
the news reports that he's no longer engaged.
yeah, and but what I'm saying is, the president was mentored by the lawyer for all the criminals, Roy Cohn.
Right. Right.
So, my thing is, I'm very careful with that because that's someone else's characterization. I do know that he is someone who inside is known to be a model
Hmm.
person in the system, and giving someone 200 years when the people who robbed and raped and pillaged us financially are walking free and they're still wealthy today. I got a problem with that.
I mean, he's done it to another cheater that cheated people out of tax money. So I
Well, I
think
mean,
that he's going around looking at all of these criminals and he's
yeah.
saying, we need you back in the public. So when I get out of office, I can work with you.
Well, no, but they all do that, and that's the problem. That's to me that's problematic. And I hope that Larry Hoover, Jeff Ford, and others can use their tremendous charisma and power to empower in another way. Oftentimes, our people have only been given a narrow avenue. That is why you've seen Italians and Jewish people really create the mafia in this country
Mhm.
because they were locked out of other spaces. But then, if you look at the Godfather saga, they were all Michael Corleone was always trying to move toward respectability. He said, because times have changed and I can do this. My point is simply this. One man's criminal is another man's freedom fighter, and the freedom fighter then, after he's been a criminal and a terrorist, you become Menachem Begin. You become a prime minister. So I think
I
we have
mean,
to be,
look at
yeah,
what we're doing right now. We're
yeah.
in Haiti and we're looking at how are the dynamics in that capital city going? Why
Hmm.
is it that the United States embassy is closed? Yet there's so many movements being made
And
by the
business is
United
still
States.
going.
And business is
Businesses,
still going.
so people are still making money off of Haiti.
Of course.
No, I think it's important. You got to paint the picture because
Yeah.
when you when you read the reports, Attorney Anastasia Snot, Haitian American Lawyers Association, when you read the stories, you're ungovernable. You don't know how to govern yourselves. You don't know what you're doing. You need to have these people come in and help you. And what I'm simply saying to you is, even with a Marshall Plan that America could put in place for Haiti, the fact is,
Mhm.
if we would leave Haiti alone, Haiti could make their own money and they wouldn't need us.
Well, that's
If
the problem.
yeah,
We have all those
no, but
resources, but we're unable to export them at the same level because the international communities are unfortunately siding with the direction that United States
wait a minute.
goes.
The Western international communities, the West,
Mhm.
Europeans, because what we're learning, that's why we're learning from the Sahel, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, and Ghana, which has said we keep our gold for ourselves. Um, what we're learning, what we're beginning to see are African peoples begin to wake up all over the world.
Well, that's what Jovenel Moise was trying to do. He was trying
Yeah.
to create a community in the African community in those countries
Mhm.
in order to try to export their resources,
Mhm.
also trying to work with other countries. Somebody didn't like that, and that's why he got taken out.
Well,
How
and
is it that you can convince Haitian people to turn on themselves?
well,
Money.
we do it here. No, but everybody's not doing that. And I'm saying we do it here because what we don't do now, the decision after Dr. King was killed, is that we will not kill another one. But what we'll do is chip away at their credibility. That's what you
And,
do. You
and
leave
that's
a
what's
link.
been happening.
Yeah. And so
Our
my
civil rights leaders are now old enough in order to, go meet the Lord. And what's going to happen when they meet the Lord? Who's
well,
taking up? But
the
the problem also becomes
mhm.
how many of those civil rights leaders had a protege or
No, let me
apprentice?
tell you. No, because I can tell you, you have proteges. Because Dr. King didn't have a protege. He had people who were working. Reverend was working. He had people who were working. The big myth is that he brought Reverend to Chicago and hired him. No.
Mm,
Reverend came to Chicago. He turned down a scholarship to Duke Law School and took a scholarship to the seminary at the University of Chicago. He was an organizer, and he so impressed James Bevel. And Dr. King already knew Reverend because he was a top student leader. He was the second vice president of Omega Psi Phi, which is the biggest position that an undergraduate can occupy in the fraternity. He's the
mm.
first member of Omega Psi Phi who almost became the boss list as an undergraduate. Anastasia, I just found this out. He was 3 or 4 votes short. That has never happened since a founder. He
Uh,
was. My point is, he was always on the move. And so
but
James
who's going to
Bevel
take
said,
up the torch?
no. The thing is, you got to work. All I'm saying, no one taps you. Trying to tell you something. No one tapped him. He was
Hmm.
working. Now the question is, don't ask him. That's not his responsibility. He has tried to bring people along. People looked at his celebrity and got excited about that. They didn't put in the work. Anastasia,
Okay,
I've seen
that-
it.
that's a good point.
We almost closed our doors for the only time in our history because someone decided they needed a driver, they needed a dresser, they needed all of these things. They didn't realize that my Uncle Saint, who was traveling with Reverend, he was his driver. He laid out his clothes, he did all of that. And he also passed out the push cards. They were working the whole time. These people don't think about that.
But
They
what about
think
those that become celebrities and are not trying to
you,
assist others with
you've
taking on
gotten
that role?
confused because celebrities are not servants. You get
Mm,
it confused. You're not a celebrity.
hmm.
You are famous. You might be well known. I just know in my space, we never got it twisted. No. Reverend Jackson had been asked to be on Saturday Night Live in the first season. He was already that popular in 75.
Right.
Okay.
Hmm.
He was like, no. When he decided to go on, it was at the end of the 84 campaign, his historic campaign, because he felt it was an opportunity to make a statement to try and pull some more votes against Reagan.
But
He used no. I'm just
that was a
saying
difficult situation for him to be in. Yeah.
He used the platform for someone other than himself. That's my point. Some point, when are we gonna get it? Well,
Oh, well,
I think,
other politicians have also done the same thing.
well,
They've
he's
gone
not
on
a
SNL in
politician,
order to pull in.
but he's not a politician. The difference, he is political. He's a minister. That's the
Hmm.
difference. So I'm trying to say to
But what
you that
about Al
even
Sharpton? How
I,
come he's
I
never gone into a role where he could be more effective, like a congressman?
well, but no, he can't be more effective as a congressman. Some people, there's a lane outside of elective office, and there's a lane in elective office. You have much more freedom outside of elective office, but there is a lane. He doesn't need to run for Congress. He's much more effective where he is. Let somebody else run.
Well, Jasmine Crockett is coming out as a celebrity, but she has said that if she gets paid from a case, she'll drop out of her role to get paid and then try to run again.
Okay, well, I
Now,
understand that because one of the
that
things that
break in servant mind that we have in her, how will
I'm
that
not here.
impact us?
Well, no, I'm not here to criticize Jasmine because one of the
Hmm.
things I do know about serving in Congress, $170,000, whatever it is that people that they make, it might
Hmm.
sound like a lot, but not when you have to divide it between two houses. One of the homes that you must stay in is in one of the most expensive cities in the United States.
DC, yeah.
An apartment, a studio apartment
Hmm.
in a neighborhood that is reasonably close to Capitol Hill
Hmm.
will cost you three, four, five, $6,000 a month.
It's terrible.
So many congressmen and women, they've had stories about them living in their offices,
Mm.
saying that, oh yeah, Max Frost out of Miami, who had been driving an Uber and decided to run for Congress, he stayed in his office for a while. He could not afford to get an apartment.
Hmm.
Okay, so first of all, they're not making enough money. Let's get serious. They're not.
Let's
You
let's
know, but
pivot a little bit to talk about some of the
and
leaders
and let me and
that are
no
moving.
and I'm just and the way the system is structured, you need to be very comfortable to be able to exist in that to run for office anyway. So everything is upside down. So my point is with you as we talk about Haiti,
Hmm.
we only have about 10 more minutes left at the most.
Okay.
The thing is, I want this House resolution to go through. But let us be very clear. If we do not look at all of the meddling, if we don't look at that side of the politics, nothing will change, Anastasi.
But look at our government at this time. They had an order, a preliminary injunction that was given by a New York federal judge on
Mhm.
May 22nd to the President of the United States and the Secretary of the Department of Education
Mhm.
in order to stop the in, enforcement of the reduction in force order that the president had done. Meaning,
Mhm.
all of those federal employees who were told you got to go are now going to continue to be on paid administrative leave until they can be reinstated, likely, into
Mhm.
their positions to do the work. But who's losing out? It's the taxpayers. It's the
Of course.
public. The public is not getting civil rights enforced because he dismantled all of these civil rights agencies,
Yeah,
including in the Department of Justice. People thought,
absolutely.
well, hey, if you dismantle the Department of Education, maybe we'll fall under the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. No, he dismantled that too. Why is it that we are attacking ourselves from within? Because I believe President Trump found a way to shake it up,
He
to
found a way to do what the oligarchs have been trying to do for a long time.
Mhm.
Corporatists maintain, and that's who the Democrats are. Oligarchs are on the Republican side, and you have oligarchs, quite frankly, in the Democratic Party.
Of course.
They are the corporate titans who want to seize government, dismantle government, and privatize government. That's what they're trying to do. They, the Postal Service didn't collapse, it's being collapsed. They have been paying into their pensions, into the pension system. In fact, they have paid ahead.
Yeah.
What we're doing, they have been lying to us, and we continue to take in the lie. We continue to think that there are welfare queens when, and you got a few people who take advantage of the system, and you shouldn't do that. But you're not talking about the welfare kings who are on Wall Street who always privatize their wins and they socialize their losses. We don't have any energy for that. We have the energy for the little people, not for the
And
big
when we say
corporations.
we, are we talking about black people? Because most of the
No, no,
people
no,
on
no. I'm
welfare are the
saying,
white
I'm saying,
people.
I'm saying all. No, no. I'm saying all people, and that's an oversimplification. We've already talked about that.
Hmm.
The most people who commit crimes are white people. They're not black people. The most
Right.
people who do anything in the United States are white folks. But the
Hmm.
fact is, if I get a cold, if white people get a cold, I already have pneumonia. The fact is, you need to stop the illness. The sickness is we shouldn't have poverty in America. Period. If it's in Appalachia, where white folks are, if it's in the Mississippi Delta where white people and black people are, you got to stop it. And what I'm
There
saying when
shouldn't,
it comes
there
to
shouldn't be the
Haiti,
level of homelessness that we have. There
with
shouldn't be so
all
many
of
people
it,
with mental illness running around without support from the community. What's the
and
point of having social services if they're not being used correctly?
Reagan ended so much of that.
Hmm.
See, I that happened when I was in college, when you were
Hmm.
being born.
Right.
And no, I'm serious. And there was a big mental health facility in Washington D.C. called St. Elizabeth's
Hmm.
that was what was in Southeast, and it was a fairly open campus, beautiful campus. And when Reagan started defunding it, you saw them walking off the campus, mentally ill people. Sometimes they'd be half naked or naked, and they'd just be walking down the street. It was a horrible thing to see.
I mean, in order to attack Medicare, Medicaid, and all those things, you have to pivot that into Haiti. What are they trying to do in Haiti? They've
Collapse
attacked.
it.
Right, they're trying to collapse it. The World Banks, all of those things that Haiti has been using in order to try to survive as a country, as a nation,
That's
they're
right.
trying to collapse it by the same way that they've collapsed so much of the American support services.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not
and
saying that Haitians are
that's
all
my point.
intelligent, but we certainly need more doctors, lawyers, engineers, business people, because all of these things help a country, you know?
And you need laborers, and you need blue collar and white collar workers.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
need
the coffee fields cannot operate without laborers.
you need
The
all of that.
sugarcane fields cannot operate
That's right.
without laborers.
And what you have to do, my prayer for Haiti is that as you move toward a just society, a peaceful society, that you'll get it right,
Mhm.
right? And I'm hoping that we will all do that because America's in a place, Haiti's in a place, the whole world's in a place where we've got to redo things because we're on the wrong track. We're on the wrong track. I mean, because the fact is, yeah, you need white collar workers. I think you need doctors, lawyers, all of that. But if
Mhm.
you don't, you need plumbers.
Oh,
You
for
need
sure.
you need brickma. No, we need. But when we talk about what we need to talk about them too in the same breath
Okay, I
because
concur.
you need them all.
We
If
need
you
them
don't
all.
think
We need
if
people
you
that can go out on the roads, repair
yes,
the roads, build the educational systems, to build the hospitals or the clinics
you
that need to
need
be rebuilt.
everybody. You
But
need everybody. If you don't think that they if you don't think they're important, if you don't think a garbage worker is important,
no, they're for real
let them
important.
go on strike. Oh no, but I'm just saying we're
Mm-mm.
going to have to get our thinking together so that we understand that everybody is necessary. Everybody. And
Absolutely.
everybody is important. Everybody. I mean, Lech Walesa, who led the solidarity movement, was a union worker. He was a blue collar guy who led Poland into freedom.
Even
I
the
mean,
truck drivers are important.
not even if you don't have first of all, the genius is not only in the universities, okay?
That's true.
Genius is everywhere,
Yeah.
everywhere.
Knowledge,
And
skills, and abilities are needed in every level of,
yeah,
of American life and
not
Haitian
in
life,
every level, in every space,
in every space, in
in every
American
space,
life and Haitian life.
in every space, because a lawyer and a
Mhm.
doctor is not more important than an electrician or the person who keeps your house or the person who takes care of your babies.
That's true.
If you don't
It's hard
think
to
that
do one without, it's hard to
uh-uh.
wipe the hand of one and without shaking the hand of another.
Hey, I know what my mom has said. I know she said, look, I will always love the people, the women who helped me with you all, because I could trust them with. There's no one more precious to me than my children, and they were good to you. So we've got to change our thinking. What do you need us to do?
Well,
What
I
what
need
what do you
everyone
need?
to read the bill, get on the bill, talk
What
to
is
their
the bill? What's
Congress
the
people.
number?
HR 1114.
Okay.
It is the Toussaint Louverture Investment Plan. Like I said, it's already there in the Foreign Affairs Committee. It's already in the Ways and Means Committee. Just needs to get out of the committee so that it can get to the floor. And if they really are truly interested in helping Haiti, think of ways that you can rebuild Haiti without trying to pillage Haiti at the same time. How
Well,
can you go in, help reform the streets and hospitals and schools for the kids to go back to school, to educate themselves on how to keep their country alive? Those are good things. Reforming, obviously, we need to find out and weed out those corrupt politicians that are in Haiti that would seek to destroy the country and sort of rebuilding the country or reforming the country from that. And then obviously, we still need to restabilize. But I predict that Erik Prince is not going to get paid by Haiti because obviously, I don't believe Haiti has those millions of dollars
well,
that
he
he would
doesn't
be
have to.
seeking. Right. I think
You
someone else is going to
you
pay
can
him.
no, but you can backdoor that. The fact is, though, he's still there, and you know what? He's profiteering off of Haiti, like so many others are. He's not even the point, and who pays him on top of the table is not even the point. The question is
And
what's happening up underneath. You have someone who says that these black and brown people are ungovernable. They don't know how to govern themselves. So
Mhm.
I need, and when the podcast host said, wait a minute, people on the left are going to be all over you because what you're saying is sounding, he said, yeah, absolutely, I am. We need
all
to
that money
become,
the
we need
American
to
Red
become that.
Cross took on behalf of Haiti, they also need to get that money to Haiti. I
No,
think that
you
whatever
need
money that they took, they should just give it to Haiti and rebuild like they said they were going to
the
rebuild.
definition of insanity is doing the same thing the same way and expecting a different result. You need to get them out and get good people in. A few years ago, you had not heard of Ibrahim Traore.
Hmm.
There's some revolutionary there who and who serve as the protectors of Ibrahim Traore. When he's driving through the streets, the people run out, jump on their motorcycles, or they run alongside his car, daring people to assassinate him.
Hmm.
A made up mind changes everything. I love you, Attorney Anastasia Sanat. We're going to be talking
Love you
about
back.
Larry Hoover and his commutation in the next hour. I got people already calling me. They're waiting for me. So everybody get on over there. I love you, Soror Sanat.
And I love you too. Thank you for
All right.
having me.
All right. Jenny, you want to
Oh,
say
and you know
hello?
what? I cordially invite you and others to the Haitian American Lawyers Association of Illinois first Father's Day luncheon. Father's Day in Haiti is celebrated the fourth Sunday of the month in June. And so we're going to be having an event, a luncheon at Avinia Banquets, which is located in Palos Hills, Illinois on June 28th. You can, the adults are $100, kids 10 and under, $50. So if you have a brother, a husband, a son, or anyone, a male figure that you would like to celebrate, this is an opportunity to celebrate the men that have participated in our lives and have helped us to grow. So please bring them. Please tell everyone about it. And if you're in Illinois or Chicago area, please join us.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, everybody. Please put that on your calendar. And of course, the Rainbow Push International Conference, June 12th through the 14th. Come on to Chicago. It's going to be great. Next hour, let's talk about Larry Hoover. It's got everybody talking all over the country. Let's talk about this on the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota.